The Atheist Debates Patreon project presents Humans Are Special. We are definitely special. We're the bestest if you asked us. And we're special to us. I hear you. No, Matt, we're not like animals. Well, we are animals. Well, no, not in that sense. I mean, yes, if you want to be like a technical biological sense, but we're really distinct from animals, or if you want to, the other animals. Okay. So what's the point? Isn't every animal distinct and special from every other animal? Some things are more than and less than. Some things run faster, think better. They run slower, they eat less, they live longer, where's the uniqueness? Because this is an argument coming from theists quite a bit. I saw a video while I was researching this with a guy that lists like 27 things that humans are the only ones that are capable of, and he's wrong about almost all of them, and almost all of them are tied to one or two categories. He just like picks a category and then we can do this and we can do this and we can do this. Whether or not any particular animal can do something is independent from whether or not it's the only one that can do something, which is also separate from the only one that can ever do something, which is also separate from this is what you were created for, or this is an indicator of what you were created for, or that you were created at all. Are there things that only humans do or can do? Well, no. But once you draw lines, you can come up with categories of things that we are sufficiently better at than any of the animals that we know of, that it seems as if we're unique. For example, complex communication. I mean, cheetahs run faster. Other animals communicate, we do it better, but not uniquely. But we might do it so much better that it seems distinct. And there are some great examples of this within human beings, within our history. There are things that we often hear only humans do, but that's not true. And some of them are just, nonsense. I literally saw someone say, oh, we're the only ones with opposable thumbs. And I'm like, what about all the other primates and then all of the other animals that have that or better in some cases? One might argue that, the limbs of an octopus are superior to anything that we've got for almost any task. One aspect of this complex communication that could be distinguished as here's something specific and unique to humans that's incredibly valuable, and that is recorded language, not just language for communication, but the ability to turn that into written language or eventually up to saving things in video formats. This video is just another example of the extension of written language. It will live on after I'm dead. That's the key aspect of this. This is huge, and it's significant because it's how humans got to be better than other animals in areas where biologically we might be inferior. It's how we can leverage previous generations. For a lot of other animals, even those that communicate, even those who have abstract thoughts and identity and would perform different on a mirror test and any number of things, even in those animals, if you were to wipe out a particularly small population, the shared knowledge and understanding that may exist in that community is lost. It's not like another colony of great apes is going to move in and then learn what they learned. There are things that you can intuit and learn from, their habitat and everything else, but ideas and emotions and things that people wanted to convey and base knowledge don't get passed on. But we figured out how to do that. Our ability to share information in detectable ways, even if we were to go extinct, is critical. Because there are dead languages. There are languages that humans used that we have no idea how they sounded, but we can still decipher elements of the language to the point where we can understand aspects of that language. We may lose out on idioms and poetry and esoteric definitions and circumstances, and names and things like that. But the core ideas may still remain and may be detectable. There are some languages that you may never be able to do that with, and I would say that those are just inferior languages for the role of passing on information. Something that appeals to a more universal understanding, something like mathematics, we assume, which is why we include it in messages to outer space in case some other intelligence sees it, that this would be a language they would be able to decipher for quicker and easier than English. But even those apologists who don't appeal to a God will often go to the naturalistic fallacy, that the natural state is preferable, which is weird because we're wearing clothing, or that the natural state is better, and that it dictates our purpose or what our purpose ought to be, as if we are the result of an intentional creation, which is what they're trying to do, to make us, our distinctness gets respun as uniqueness and then gets respun as intended uniqueness. And when you try to have the conversations about just because something's natural doesn't mean it's good, and you really try to get down to the core of what's the purpose of talking about this as if, oh, this is natural and this is unnatural. In the modern world, what gets brought up in my circles more often than not is, well, homosexuality isn't natural. That's unnatural. No, it's completely natural. And it's been observed in plenty of species. Yes. Yeah, but what I mean by unnatural is it doesn't aid procreation. Well, at the individual level, if they are exclusively engaged in homosexual acts, that probably doesn't aid their procreation, but it may aid procreation amongst a population by reducing competition for mates and resources and things like that. But also, just because somebody engages in a homosexual activity doesn't mean they also don't engage in heterosexual activity. But in any case, it's perfectly natural, and it occurs all over the animal kingdom. So the second question is, once you drill down to that second tier excuse of, well, it doesn't aid procreation, why on earth should we consider aiding procreation a good thing or a goal or in any way a demonstration that we were created? I mean, surely you must recognize that procreation occurs in plenty of species, and the ones that don't procreate tend to go extinct. I mean, there are some that reproduce asexually and engage in homosexual acts and things like that. But, well, all right. But Matt, here, check this out. Humans are uniquely positioned to destroy the earth. Well, I mean, you almost got me there. Our knowledge and understanding has progressed to the point where we are a threat to ourselves and to every other living thing on the planet. Although I would argue that there are probably bacteria that could evolve in such a way as to destroy all other living things on the earth, which, while it isn't going to blow up the planet in that sense, I'm not sure that we could either. I certainly think that there is something that's similarly potentially destructive out there. But even if that were the case, that we're the only ones that can blow up the planet, that doesn't tell me anything about that being the intended goal or confirmation that we were a special created being. Okay, but what about clothing? I mean, you're wearing clothing. Yeah, it's funny that the same people who want to point to what is or isn't natural would then turn around and try to use clothing as an example of something unique that humans do. But there are plenty of other animals that temporarily adopt ornamentation, both for mating purposes and for performance activities. The fact that we have built a culture out of this is no more proof of a God than the fact that there are nudist colonies is proof that there isn't a God, that these get back to nature folks are that way. There's nothing required. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we could do, but that doesn't mean that's what we're supposed to do. We're not the only one that build housing. We're not the only ones that make and use tools. I love the fact that people used to refer to people who seemingly were dense as bird-brained, when crows and other birds are incredibly bright and make use of tools. Well, we have longer childhoods. Yes, we do. Some might say we're childish forever in some sense, and we're definitely children for longer than a lot of others. But that's another one of those, we are slower, we are faster, we are children for longer. We need more help from our parents and ancestors. That doesn't tell me anything at all about us being unique or special. We can lie, we can love, we can have identity, and we can have abstract thoughts. And all of those are present in other animals, not the least of which are other primates. There are studies that show that other primates have a sense of fairness. We've watched our pets adopt human-like behavior. You can tell when a dog knows when it's in trouble. A cat knows when it's in trouble. It just doesn't care as much. And we're talking about procreation. Now they'll come back with like, oh, the Bible says be fruitful and multiply. Oh, wait a minute. I thought you just said if I'm fruity, I'm not going to multiply. Sorry, bad joke there. But when we talk about that natural stuff with regard to other animals, they lie, they deceive, they love, they have identity. Where's this thing that's unique to humans? Well, I might have found something, kind of. I searched and searched, and every time I found a list of things that were supposedly unique to humans, there would be another list that somebody put together of examples of these things occurring in other animals. Not the least of which we should keep in mind, we don't know all the other animals or what they're capable of or anything else. But the example that kept coming up was blushing. So far as we know, the exact process of blushing that takes place in humans is unique to humans, at least as far as my research showed for this. Now, cheek flushing, or alternating the color of it, may occur elsewhere. And it could be that something akin to blushing is occurring in other primates, but is hidden by hair, and skin color makes it less obvious, and everything else. But there are, in fact, reptiles that engage and can do something like blushing. This is one of my favorites. This is Styx. He is Calotes, a green forest dragon. And the top picture is him sitting on top of my head. And the bottom picture is him sitting on top of my head about a minute after the first picture, when he saw his girlfriend about 2 feet away. And he blushes his entire head and then will begin bobbing and everything else. Now, this is not a blood flushing like we would see on the skin of humans, but it's tied to similar emotions and behaviors. And so I think they're roughly analogous. I won't say that it's actually blushing, but they're wonderful, incredible creatures. And the more we work with different species, the more we find traits within them that surprise us. It's surprising how smart they are, how aware they are, how they interact. When his head flushes up, it's not the same as what happens when we blush, because our blushing is tied to emotions like horniness and embarrassment. His could be tied to horniness or a threat display. And it doesn't have the same mechanism, but we see similarities across the animal kingdom. But let's assume for a second that humans are in fact the only ones that blush. Now we've found the thing, evidently, that is unique to humans. How do you demonstrate that blushing is the intentional work of any God, let alone the specific God that you're advocating for? We're special and different because God made us that way. Prove it? Well, it's just obvious. The admission, thank you, that you don't have an argument, you don't have an evidence, you don't have a way to connect your observation to your proposed explanation for it, which is why I've done a bunch of videos on the nature of evidence and what qualifies as evidence for. It's not obvious, actually, but thanks for making another unfounded assertion that couldn't support your leap in reasoning, even if you wanted to, or even if you wanted it to. Now, saying things like that probably makes you feel special. And you are special, just like everyone else. And the arguments are so bad, you should probably be blushing. See you next time.